We're in Gloucester, early in the morning, just registered, so let's go and explore. There's the church that I've just registered in for the competition, and I parked my car down this road round to the right, and there's actually a nice view of the church tower through a gap in the buildings, a gap in these buildings on the left, so I might paint that later. So there's some cool buildings here, kind of, I don't know, I think it's that Georgian architecture on the right here, but that looks good, kind of reminds me a little bit of Bath. Beautiful columns. And off in the distance there's a cool bell tower. And we're heading towards the cathedral at the moment. And you can just see here part of Gloucester Cathedral, which looks pretty impressive. And then some Tudor buildings here on the right. But for the moment, I'm just going to keep going and explore my way up through this pedestrianised area. So I'm a bit higher up the hill now, and this view's caught my eye. I like the long shadows here. And then there's also this rather beautiful stone building. And there's a church tower, or kind of an ancient tower peeking out there. So there's quite a lot going on. When you register, they stamp the back of your paper or canvas with like a little Gloucester Plein logo, so that they know you've created the painting today. And I got them to stamp. I've got 2 pads of paper with me, watercolour paper, one rough surface, one smooth, and I got them to stamp about 8 pages in each. I don't intend on doing 16 paintings, but we need to allow for mistakes, and it's just easier than, you know, trying to rush back at the last minute to get an extra page stamped if you need it. So this view down here with the clock on the wall is perhaps of interest. Got some live music. Looks like there are maybe some cool buildings down there as well. It's difficult to know what to choose. I've already seen a couple of artists setting up already. I kind of get the impression that they're locals and they knew exactly what they were going to paint, or maybe they were just better at researching than me before they got here. Okay, so there are some cool buildings down here as well. And one of the bits of advice they give on the bump that they send you when you enter is, you know, try and find some of the hidden gems. Oh, wow. So this, this building here is pretty cool. I hadn't even noticed it. I was sort of so close. What I'm going to do just to get going is, back where that guy was playing the music live, I quite like the idea of doing something a bit different, and I'm going to sketch him, put him in the foreground, and then paint the street behind him, I think. And there's another cool view. I think that's of the cathedral, which I haven't checked out yet. But I like the idea of peeking at these big structures through a little street, and then the street is framed by these other cool buildings. So.
Okay, so we're in Gloucester, and this is happening. Love it. This is the main street, but here's the man, the hubby, and he's chosen for his spot this view to paint.
So here's the scene I decided to start to paint, and this is what we've got so far. So I've kept the background washes fairly soft and fairly pale, and then I've made this guy the busker bolder, and I kind of like the feel of it so far, but I need to just let some of this dry and then resolve some of these areas a little bit more. But my main goal is to keep this chap the focus of the painting. Definitely going to give him some shades at some point, and I need to put the guitar strap in and so on and so forth. But for now, fairly happy. I think this area is fairly dry, so my next move is to add some details in here, but without going too defined, because I don't want to pull away the focus from here. So I've got to keep it soft and loose, but that's the move. I've added some dry brush detail to the left-hand side, and I like the feel of that. But I've just noticed that these people are too big. You know, it looks like this guy's giant, and it's something to do with where I've placed them. I think I should have placed them a little bit further forward, so that's a bit of a problem. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to fix that, or even if I'm going to. I might have to just take a bit of artistic license there. and go for the overall feel of the thing. But that is a bit of a problem to fix. I can't quite see how to address that, because there are some people over there at the moment, for example, and their heads are about level with this bit here. So really, these people need to have their heads level about there, and that's tricky to fix with watercolour. I'm just pondering what I can do, if anything. Which is a pity, because I like the feel of this, I like the feel of this, and if I just left those people out, I could have got away with it. So we'll have to have a think. Here's where we are now. So what I've done is I've increased the height of the tree, which is more in keeping with the scene, and then I've blocked in a silhouette of the building at the back and put in just a little bit of detail of these rooftops, enhanced this guy a bit more, done a couple of details on the clock, hinted at a figure there and some in the background. And then what I've done is I've scribbled over very loosely and moved the position of the heads of these two figures, having lifted off the paint before I did any of this, and changed the posture. So my plan is to use the original lines for the legs and kind of add a bit of visual confusion, and hopefully it'll read overall a bit better. Sorry about the camera work. Yeah, so I think we're getting there. I'm going to do a bit more on this, tidy these guys up, and maybe just add a few finishing touches to this chap, and then I'll probably just leave that one and move on to a different location. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave that one there. I'll sign that in a minute. I think I've just about got away with it with these figures, and added a little bit of visual confusion here, so it's more just a general impressionist view of the distance. Yeah, so I think that's got a kind of a nice feel to it, and I like the fact it's the busker, it's a little bit different. I am wondering about, obviously he's not rendered all that accurately, but it's just kind of an impressionist take. So I think I've got the feel of it. So yeah, quick signature, and I'll probably leave it at that, I think. So here's the next view I'm going to paint. I've actually just come back from wandering around the key area of Gloucester, which is really beautiful. Lots of cool shops and venues, so I might try and hit that later. Well, we'll see how it goes, but I was struck by this view because we've got the cathedral tower and then also this weird modern tower as well. And best of all, there's a built-in seat for me, so I'm going to get going. Okay, well, this is what I've got so far on this one. I've taken an unusual composition, which I'm quite happy with because it's just a bit quirky. And as you can see, I've captured that modern tower, the top of the fence in front of it, and then focused on basically the skyline so we can see the cathedral tower peeking through. And I've been very careful to just, for the most part, just put down one clean brush stroke everywhere, and I've varied the textures, varied the brushes I've used across the paper. So this is the first coat. So now what I'm going to do is come in with this very fine point brush and a bit of violet, add some hopefully very lively and loose detail on the cathedral tower, and then I'm probably going to come in with watercolor marker pen to enhance some of the features on the rest of the painting. And my only hope is that it was a beautiful day, but it's looking a little cloudy now and it feels like it could rain, so I've got to work fairly quickly. Okay, so I've added a little bit of watercolor marker, but I'm not actually sure if it's adding or taking away from the scenario. This handrail is looking a bit heavy, although I mean it's not too far off reality, but it's a bit jarring against the rest of it. I don't mind what I've added to the cathedral so far, but I think I'm going to come back in. These windows are okay as well, but I think I'm going to come back in and soften some of these with a wet brush. Okay, so while I've been painting away, lots of people have been passing by telling us about Gloucester and the history. So the cathedral tower was built, I think, in Norman times, so around about 1,000 years ago. This octagonal building was built by Napoleonic prisoners of war, and that's the courthouse, I think. And then this is the old fire station tower where they used to practice, which I assume is early 1900s, or at least 20th century. Could be late 19th, I guess. And then here's the finished painting. And so what I've done is I came in with the watercolor marker and kind of softened some of those lines, as I mentioned I was going to before, and then I added some of my violet paint applied with the edge of a flat brush to put in these railings and things, and some shadows, and then finally came in with my Unipin marker. And yeah, I'm happier with this than I thought I was going to be, because it's really quirky and a bit of a different look. Okay, so I'm going to try and do another one now. So I mentioned before that when we got here, I noticed a view of the church in between some buildings, which is this one. And I still like that view, but having painted a religious building already, I've done the cathedral just now for that second painting, I kind of think, well, I want to do something a bit different again. And just down the road here is this gate with all the overgrown stuff behind, and then there's like that awning over a staircase in the background, and I think I'm going to paint that. I might add a little surreal twist to that one as well. I don't think I'll include the shopping cart, but the overgrown plants and stuff I think add to it. My only concern really is how to capture the intricacy of that iron work in an effective way, because I don't want to go to the trouble of drawing everything. So I'm thinking at the moment I'll start off with Unipin marker, just get it in rough, then do it fully with Sharpie, and then add watercolour to that. So this last view that I'm painting is actually right opposite where we parked when we arrived, so I'm painting very close to the car. And here's the composition so far. So it's not geometrically perfect by any means, but it's okay. It's off center. And my plan, I said before I was going to do Sharpie first, then add watercolor, but having done the basic line work, I think I'm going to work in the way I have so far today, pretty much anyway. I'm going to come in with washes of watercolor, loose treatment for the background, big shapes, and just noticed I haven't included the awning, but we'll put that in later. And then once that's dry, then I'll come in on top with either watercolor marker or Sharpie, we'll see which works, and go from there. And I've only got about an hour and a half-ish, an hour until the deadline, but the hand-in site is only like a 5-minute walk away, so that's another reason I've decided to do this. Okay, so we're still here, and as you can see I've put the first layer of paint on, kept it very loose, light touch, some dry brush here and there. So the next thing to do is really bring this gate forward by making it a lot darker than the background. Okay, well we're still at the same site, and so I've actually used a Prussian blue watercolor marker to put in the gate, and then what I've done is I've dragged a wet brush over that, and obviously I'm not copying the gate exactly, but the idea of dragging the wet brush over is, if you look at the I don't know if I can zoom in. I can. If you look at the lettering here, you can see that it's pretty faded and it's all over the place. Now if you see, I don't know what you call them, but there's those sort of spirally pattern things kind of in the middle of the main gates, which are a lighter colour. So I think what I'm going to do is come in with a combination of my Unipin marker and then some white acrylic, initially at least, to try and capture the essence of that. So I think this one is done. I did debate for quite a while about putting kind of a ghost-like just an outline of somebody walking past, but I decided against it. I also thought about sneaking a belted Galloway cow in here, either maybe up on the roof or in behind the gates, but I don't think I want to. Not today. You're allowed to submit up to 3 paintings, so I think I'll put all 3 that I've done today in. And yeah, either way, it's been a good day. So this cathedral is just amazing. I think this could be the ultimate sort of carport, so you can pull in from either side. If you could take over this as your house, it'd be pretty sweet. This is around the back from the other view I just showed you, and then I'm going to head down towards the cloister. So I've just handed in my paintings, and I think they're judging now, or soon. The deadline's in about 15 minutes or something, I think. So I've got to head back there in around about 45 minutes, and then everybody finds out what's what. So here's a look at the finished 3 paintings, and I'm very happy with all of these. They've grown on me over the last 24 hours as I keep looking at them and putting them away and then looking at them again. The first one, as you know, shows the busker at the top of Westgate Street in Gloucester, I think it was. And I like the liveliness and the looseness of this, and it just captures a moment. And I feel it's kind of a unique take on a plein air painting of a city. I mean, it could almost be anywhere, this painting, but it's just a lovely memory for me of the day. And I'm finding more and more with my painting that one of the things I like the most is when I paint a location is the memories it brings back. It's a really good way to just record experiences. The second one I'm also very happy with because of the unique composition. And again, I feel it's a unique take on a view of the city. And I love the fact, very grateful to the chap who came past and started chatting to me and told me about the history of the 3 buildings, because as mentioned earlier in the video, you've got the 1,000-year-old cathedral, you've got the octagonal courthouse, or I assume it's octagonal anyway, it could be any kind of polygon. I'm not actually sure how many sides the building has, but it's just peeking in there on the bottom left-hand corner of the painting, built by prisoners of the Napoleonic Wars, or from the Napoleonic Wars. And then we've got the old fire station tower on the right. And my favourite bit probably of this painting is the delicacy of textures I've managed to achieve with the dry brush for that red building with the railings behind the tower. And then finally, we've got the gate, which I have since found out was the gateway to what is now a run-down, closed-down nightclub, which was very prominent in the 80s and 90s, or at the very least operational in Gloucester. And again, a unique take on a landscape. With all of my paintings that I did this day, and with much of my artwork in general, not always, but in general, I don't try to capture the scene to photographic accuracy. I kind of let a little bit of expressionism peek in, and I do what I feel is right for the image rather than sort of measure everything precisely. But overall, I still feel I've captured the essence of that scene. So my favourite part of this one is probably the kind of worn lettering on the archway to the gate. I just really enjoyed that little technique, dragging the wet brush through the watercolour marker. So there we go, 3 paintings in one day. So for that reason alone, it was worth going up to the plein air painting competition. But I would encourage any artist who hasn't done it before to give it a go. Again, another big thank you to the organisers of the competition. I had an absolutely fantastic time. And for the painting competition I did last, which was one down in Plymouth, we were all told to stick in one location. So I ended up chatting with lots of different artists. With this one, I ended up chatting with lots of people who were passing by and just came up to talk to me about what I was up to. So that was a really lovely addition to the day. I enjoyed exploring the city and seeing some of the other artwork that had been created. And yeah, I hope to do it again sometime. If they do it again next year, then I'll definitely make the effort to pop up and do it all again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to check out more of my paintings at my website, which is mikejewelry.co.uk. And thanks very much for watching.